Race 2 of the Disklok Civic Cup about to get underway, but before that, Alan Taddei caught up earlier with the Ballantyne boys.
Interesting dynamic going on here with you two, Mike, Ballantyne and Jason. We'll talk about the first race in just a second, but Mike, talk a little bit about your history, because I think this is your first race back for a very, very long time.
It is my first race back for a very long time, yeah. I started kart racing back in 1972, that was as a junior, and I sort of worked up through the ranks. I went from juniors into nationals and then into internationals, which was all short circuit racing. I then moved on to do a bit of long circuit racing, which was 125 national.
And you raced against Martin Hines, I think, world champion at the time?
Hines, not actually against Martin Hines, but against some of his lads in his team. Ian Shaw from Manchester, lads like that, you know, quite a lot of lads.
Ian runs Zip North now, so
right,
why not?
I did long circuit. I raced here a couple of times. I did like Brands Hatch, Donington, places like that. And then I packed it up in 1987.
So this is your first race back for 32 years?
That's correct, yeah, 32 years, yeah.
So how have you found it so far then?
Hard. It's a bit different to the kart. The car's a lot bigger. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I've only done like Friday I did 3 20-minute practice sessions in it, and then I've done qualifying, practice this morning, then qualifying, and then I've done the first race. You know, I'm not up the front, I'm not going to be there to break any records, you know, I just want to go out and enjoy myself.
Okay, well, one man that is at the front, of course, is your son Jason. A little bit of an issue for you this weekend. What's the issue?
A little bit of an issue, horsepower and ballast issues. I'm having to run an extra 30 kilograms just to compensate for the slight over horsepower that the engine's producing, but not too bad on overall power or speed down the straight, just struggling a little bit under braking into the corners with the extra weight, but still finding it competitive enough though.
Okay, Lee Deegan, the champion from 2017, I think, back this year, but I think the champion and second from last year not here, which sort of would make you the favourite, I guess, this year. Would that be right?
Well, if that's the way you want to put it, yeah, it's quite nice to be called the favourite, but there's a lot of quick lads out there this year. There's a lot of people coming into it, and a lot of other lads that have been around for a while that are still very, very fast.
Okay, well, good luck, guys, for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Sure, we're going to see some great action from Ballantyne again. Don't forget, he nearly made up 9 places from that race. Unfortunately, he dropped back to 5th in the end. He starts 6th for this reverse grid top 10 race. Ben Sharp and Dan Hobson on the front row from Alistair Camp and David Buki. Winfield and Ballantyne, Rose, Wright, Reason, and the race 1 winner, Lee Deegan, in the top 10. It's going to be a really epic race, this one, as they're all going to be battling in slightly different positions from where they were in the first race. We're on board with David Buki at the start, and away we go. Absolutely cracking getaway from Buki. I think he's going to jump the man in second place. Sharp is going to lead off the first one. No, Sharp isn't going to lead. That's Hobson in front of us. So not a great start for Sharp in the end. He's going to drop back. And that's Alistair Camp round the outside into 3rd position. Winfield's there in 4th, going round the outside of Sharp. A terrible start then for the pole sitter as they kick up the dust on the inside of Riches and up into Montreal. That is Sharp trying to make up a place again. In fact, he's made up 2 there by the look of it as he gets through onto the inside. Still squabbling in the mid-pack. That's the likes of Damien Harris battling wheel to wheel. We're on board with Max Lewis for the Mintro Motorsport squad as he tries to get himself into a decent position. He's got 1 to his left charging through on the inside there. And they're all battling away, squabbling away for positions. The sun is a lot lower in the sky this time than it was earlier as we're getting closer to the dusk. And that's going to make visibility a bit of a difficulty for a lot of the drivers at this low point of the day. Around the Snetterton circuit, that can be quite costly because if the sun is in your eye line at a heavy braking point such as Agostini or Riches or Brundle, then that can be a real problem. So they make their way through this first lap. The leaders are going out of Oggies up towards Williams, and the field is all there in together. No major catastrophes on the first lap, so far so good. We're on board with Buki. That's Danny Hobson up the road. And Danny Hobson is your race leader. We're chasing him down the Bentley straight now. Buki back on the power. And there is Dalzell, who unfortunately ended up out of the race in the first one. In fact, he barely made it round the first lap, but this time he's looking much stronger. So hopefully he's going to make it the full distance. Look at this, nearly 4 wide down to the braking zone for Brundle. The first lap is always really hectic in the Disklok Civic Cup, and on the inside, that's Wright, trying to get on the inside of the 81 of Lewis Rose. Rose gets out wide, kicks up the dirt, and he's lost at least 1 place, but fortunately only 1. That was very well recovered. Again, kicking up the dust on the inside of the bomb hole. I think that was the car in front of Wright that went a little bit wide. We're on board with Max Lewis again through Coram. Brakes, and it brakes again in the middle of the corner seat. You can't be as smooth if you're in the gaggle of cars through Coram. You have to be very balanced. Back on the power out of Murray's. He's got a really good run off the turn, and we're going to get a four-way squabble down the main straight. You're careful, you're running out of road. Goodness me, Lewis got squeezed there. But Hobson is your leader. Second place, Buki. Third is Winfield. Then it is Deegan, Camp, Reason, Sharp, Ballantyne. Wright is in ninth position from Lewis Rose. Then it's Vincent, Morgan Bailey, and then Michael Winkworth. Then it's Taylor, Dalzell, Mullen, Lewis, Hart, Handley, and Mike Ballantyne in front of Harrison Rose. And that's a big problem there for the 77. Dan Reason, who was the runner-up in race 1, has made a big mistake there. He's run very wide and lost a good 2-3 places. Dave Buki goes through Palmer. Still chasing after Hobson. Third position is Winfield, trying to get away from Deegan. So the top two, yet again, managing to stretch out a bit of a gap on the rest of the field. It's history repeating itself, but for the good of the championship point standings, it's two different drivers out front this time. As round the outside, that's a bold move from Vincent. Vincent, who got pirouetted around, if you remember, at the first corner of race 1, is not going to have that happen to him this time. He's in the gaggle and running well. So Buki, once again, trying to push after the race leader Hobson. Let's ride on board and listen in. See, he doesn't change gear for that inside at Williams. He just blends off the power, gets back on the throttle. That's actually a faster method of getting through that long sweeping right-hander. What it does, though, is it puts pressure on the engine because you're at high revs, but you don't change the gear to ease up. So that's a bit of a... It's one of those compromise situations for Dave Buki, but it actually gets you fast around the corner. Listen in through the chicane. Well, I thought we could, but as it goes down the gears into Brundle and then drops down a couple more into Nelson, you've really got to be very careful and delicate at this point. In behind Reason, it's getting pretty hectic. That's the 63, once again a Phil Wright. Started P8, he's lost the place, but don't forget, he was very strong in race 1. That was a bit of a moment there from the man in front. Reason got a little bit loose, and now Wright's going to commit to the inside of Coram. You've got to be brave if you want to pull this move off. Side by side, lovely. You see, Reason had to bail out of that one. There was always going to be contact. What he can do then is blend back off the power of the final corner and get side by side with him again on the centre straight. We're on board with Dave Buki. Look at that gap to Hobson, it's already building. The gap is now 1.5 seconds. Fastest lap of the race, no surprise at all. It's Hobson at the end of lap 2. Alistair Camp, though, started P3 and is still there in third position. He manages to get past Winfield on that lap. There's Lee Deegan going through, in there with Vincent. So Vincent battling away side by side. That's Winfield on the inside. Oh, this is close, and Camp has run out wide, down to 4th, 5th position because Deegan is in there as well. Dave Buki chasing after Hobson. Through Palmer, plenty of curb, back on the throttle again. We're going to have to keep an eye on this third place squabble between Winfield, Deegan and Camp. Where is Camp? Oh, somebody's gone off on the grass. Now that looks to me like that is Morgan Bailey. So Morgan Bailey already having some thrills and spills out on the circuit. Not easy to look after these Honda Civic cars. Obviously they've got an amazing touring car pedigree. Not only are they great road cars, they're amazing racing cars, and a lot of drivers have gone from single spec series such as this one to move into the world of British and World Touring cars. Dave Buki, back on the power. Yes, listen again, you see he doesn't change gear here, he just blends off the throttle. And here is the 22, pushing hard. That is Jason Ballantyne in the draft of Alistair Camp. Once again, hampered by that 30 kilogram weight penalty, but doing an amazing job with it. He's still making fantastic progress regardless. And it's really good to see him not stymied by it. Somebody else running wide on the exit of Williams as the dust kicks up. A little bit of lock up there into Brundle and Nelson. I think that was Alistair Camp, just a little puff of the brakes. But Lee Deegan has got damage to the rear bumper by the look of it. Now that could be a real problem because if he gets a mechanical flag, then he's got to come into the pits to repair it. And that effectively is a race DNF as far as he's concerned. There's Chris Mullen pushing hard in the mid-pack as he tries to close in on Dalzell. And in front of him is the 195 of Paul Taylor. Great battle this for the lower part of the top 6. But there's Buki down the straight. Let's listen in. Great to hear that noise, that beautiful chirrup of the Honda Civic engine. Hobson leading from Buki. The gap opened up to 2.7. Once you're in the lead, it's very difficult to be caught here because you can get a good drive. Yeah, look, there's the bumper damage for Deegan. It's not enough to cause a mechanical flag yet. If he gets one or two more hits, then it certainly could be. So for the moment, I think he's going to get away with that, but Alistair Camp is swarming around all over the back of him like a bad habit now, as Deegan has got himself into that third position spot. So Buki still hanging on in there in second position, but look, Hobson's just disappearing. Once you've got the lead of the race, it's so hard for the driver behind to keep up because you've just got no ability to stab in the dirty air, and that's a real problem. Up to the braking zone for Agostini. Oh, a bit of a puff of brakes from Winfield. Deegan's going to get a chance to go for third here. Alistair Camp in fifth, and then Ballantyne in sixth. It's these four drivers that will do battle for the third step of the podium. It's going to be, I think, three completely different drivers on the podium compared to race one, and that's what makes this championship so competitive. Buki once again back on the power and up towards Williams. Hobson is becoming a tiny speck in the distance though, isn't he? That's a real problem from his point of view. Here they come again. This is Ballantyne chasing down Alistair Camp. Down the Bentley straight. Oh, he's got problems. That's a big problem. Now that looks like an engine failure. Oh, what a shame for Ballantyne. He's going to pull off down the Bentley straight. Massive puff of smoke you saw there, and unfortunately it's game over. Jason Ballantyne will have to go back to the drawing board, ready for the second weekend. Here's the battle for third position. Winfield running in front of Deegan, running in front of Camp, but now there's only three of them with Jason Ballantyne's exit from the race. Up to sixth place now comes Ben Sharp, and he's the original pole position man from this race. Let's listen on the braking zone for Murray's. That's well planted on the throttle there from Buki. You've got to get early on the throttle out onto Murray's because that sets you up for a really good run down the centre straight. It's going to be a really tall order for him to get close to Hobson, but he may just need to settle in for second place now. There's not really a lot he can do to chase after, but the real action is here for third position. Winfield just hanging on in front of Deegan, and then Camp, Sharp, Reason, Vincent, Rose, Wright, Bailey, Winkworth and Taylor. And then obviously we have the exit of Ballantyne from the race. He's our latest retirement. We've also lost Kuma, Evans and Nicolau. Oh, big moment for Winfield. Now Winfield made a big mistake there under brakes. Oh, and somebody's gone off. That's at Riches. Two of them have gone off. Now I wonder if there's there's oil down in the first corner. That's what it's going to be. That's why we've got several drivers in trouble. So a couple of drivers have gone off there. Now that's a big problem. So the slippery surface flags are going to be deployed. Now I wonder, is that because of Ballantyne's failure? Because if Ballantyne had a problem that was basically caused by a split oil line, he would have put oil down at various points on the circuit, in particular at turn one. It's very treacherous. Dan Reason there having a bit of a battle. We're on board with Buki into Oggies. Nice squeal of the brakes as he gets the car stopped and gets back on the power again. But this is going to be fascinating because the next time they come around, there's going to be oil down at Riches, and the leaders are possibly not going to know it's there. Now, it could be due to Ballantyne, it could be due to somebody else. Yeah, the warning flags are out. There's a yellow flag out, and that is for Ballantyne's car, which is off to the right-hand side of your picture. You can't see it in this shot, but the marshals are obviously recovering Ballantyne. And the green flag is after it, of course, so they can go into Brundle and Nelson and overtake again. But this is the battle for third position. This is between the 48 of Lee Deegan, who has got himself up into that fourth place spot, and he's got Alistair Camp behind him. So there is Buki. Buki in second place. He's having a bit of a job here, keeping the car under wraps. So out in front is Hobson, then it's Buki, and then we've got up to third position now, is the man behind, and that is, of course, Deegan. There's the slippery oil flags. There they are down the main straight. So this is going to be an interesting challenge. Hobson will see that, and obviously he'll need to take according action. You've got to be so delicate through Riches. It can really unsettle you if you're not prepared for it. So he goes through the first corner, no problem at all. Oh, that's going to be Buki. Buki's overshot. Buki's gone straight on. Careful, David. Get it back together. Well recovered. So two places have gone, though. Deegan's through to second. Third is Alistair Camp now. David Buki. A real problem there for him. Oh, and he might lose another to Winfield. Oh, careful, mate. but Winfield goes out wide. Now let's ride on board with Buki again. He goes down the main straight. If you look to the left, look, there's the red and yellow flag, so that's the clue. Slippery surface flags are imminent. The marshals are well on top of the situation. He doesn't even lift. See, he just commits to the corner. And unfortunately, the oil is down. Boom, into the grass. Save it nicely, which he does. But the problem now he's going to have is that he's got a queue of cars building behind Buki. There's Ben Sharp, started in pole position. He's now, of course, in 5th place in front of Winfield. So Winfield losing out to Sharp. But here we are on board with Buki. He's down to 4th position. And look, he's absolutely planted to the rear view mirror. He's absolutely hunted now by the drivers behind him because he's got muck and dirt on the tyres, of course. He'll have very reduced grip. And he's sliding around. Look, he's really struggling to keep the car under wraps. There's Mike Ballantyne. Like his son, he's also carrying that 30-kilogram ballast penalty. And don't forget, this is his first race back for 32 years. The last time he raced competitively in British motorsport, he was 28. That is pretty impressive to see him do such a fair job. Breaking down into the Brundle and Nelson chicane. Winfield locks up. And he's trying desperately to keep Dan Reason behind him. In behind him is David Vincent. So Vincent doing a much better job in race 2 than he was able to in race 1. But this is a tough battle now as Buki is desperately trying to keep these guys back. So Deegan has recovered through to 2nd, through all of the chaos. He's now in 2nd place in front of Alistair Camp. And now Buki in 4th position. Then it is the man in 5th position, that's Sharp, the original pole sitter. Then it is Winfield. And then behind him, we've got Dan Reason and David Vincent. Back on the straight again. Last lap begins. I actually saw another car parked up on the exit of Murray's. Didn't see who that was, but this has been a higher rate of attrition in this race than in the first. It's usually the way. As they go into the braking zone for that first corner, there's still oil down. They've got to be careful as they go through. Whoa, there goes Vincent. Oh, he's hit the oil. What a shame. So he's going to lose several places as he recovers on this last lap of the race. Oh, Buki, that's Sharp to his inside. So Buki ran wide in the first corner. Now Winfield's through. Now Reason's through. So Buki's got to get back on the pace. He's going to have the inside line for Palmer. Go on, David, commit, throw the car in. Lovely, plenty of curb, and he's back into position. Well, that's saved at least one of the places he's lost. He's a little frustrated with it, but now Buki is back into position at least. So we've got out in front Hobson. 2nd position is still Deegan, and then it is Alistair Camp, and then we've got Sharp in 4th, Winfield in 5th, and we're on board with Buki in 6th. On the power, he shakes his head in frustration there. He's so gutted. This could easily have been a 2nd place for him, and the race is just unraveled in his hands, unfortunately. It's one of those things. Same case of affairs for Phil Wright. He's had mechanical problems that have kept him from repeating his 3rd position in race 1, and he's now in the mid-pack. It's always a very difficult race, race 2. You put a lot more pressure on yourself. The car is under a little bit more pressure as well, but this man has had no pressure at all, really. Hobson got into the lead early off the start of the race from the front row and has just taken control, and he leads beautifully here in the Disklok Civic Cup race 2 at Snetterton, and he's going to take a brilliant victory as he comes through to Coram. Have I just jinxed it? I really hope not, but the slippery conditions of the circuit now with the oil down definitely won't be helping the car. But no, he's well planted into Coram, and he'll come out of Murray's, back on the power. We're on board with him as Danny Hobson is going to get the job done here. That's the car I spotted parked up, but over the line and down the centre straight, it's going to be a jubilant Danny Hobson as he sees the checkered flag, and he's ecstatic. A great win for Danny Hobson, and that really sets him off on a decent charge for the title in 2019. He's jubilant, and he's got every reason to be. Great victory at Snetterton. It's not easy to win here, and he's done an absolutely terrific job in race 2. Really done a fantastic effort. 2nd position goes the way of Lee Deegan. Race win in race 1, 2nd in race 2. That makes him championship leader. And Alistair Camp fights through for a brilliant 3rd position after what I have to say has been a pretty crazy race, actually. Lots of drivers struggling all the way through, but great to see the vast majority of them taking the flag. Only 20 finish it. Oh, and that is Phil Wright pulling off at the end of the race. So the mechanical problems he's had in the race, clearly, he's crossed the line and he's not going to bring the car home any further. Maybe he's just saving it so that the repair job isn't quite so big in time for the 2nd round of the championship. But Phil Wright, misery in race 2 compared to race 1. Hopefully we'll see him back on the podium next time out. So it's a victory for Hobson from Deegan and Camp. Winfield gets a brilliant 4th place in front of the pole sitter Ben Sharp. David Buki struggles for 6th place, but hangs on in front of Reason and Rose, with Taylor and Mullen in the top 10. Vincent spins to 11th place, Dalzell 12th from Lewis, Handley and Wright, and then Rose, Hart, Harris, McHugh and Carter.
Well, Alistair, another driver who I think it's fair to say benefited from the reverse grid, but you still had to survive an awful lot to sneak onto that podium on the last lap.
Yeah, it was tough going. Like I say, I went for the blast around the outside at the start, but didn't pay off, so then it was a uphill battle from there. So I seen Lee coming, I thought just tag on the back of him, he's a quick lad, and follow through. And that's what we did.
And you survived the oil and the chaos in the midfield in the early stages. It was a busy old race.
Yeah, it was chaotic, that's for sure. Something new for us, like I say, first meeting this year with the Civic Cup. Absolutely loved it, but yeah, it's close racing.
You've got experience of close racing and front wheel drive racing as well in the past though, so how different is this, and have you sort of got used to it fairly quickly?
Yeah, it's a lot different to where it was before with hot hatch. It was not such a larger grid, and with that, because it's power to weight ratio, you can be a lot faster on the straight than another car being quicker in a bends, whereas easy because it's every split second. If you make that one wrong move, you can have 2 cars coming past you, and then it takes a good 3 laps to make that grid back up. So yeah, it's tough going.
Well, Daniel Hobson, 9th place in race 1, but you took full advantage of that reverse grid and have come out of victory in race 2. That looked like it was a busy 20 minutes though.
It was a long time, was that. Race 1 we had a throttle body issue, so I dropped dramatically through the pack. Then race 2, yeah, just that start got me away, got me the break. See towards the end of the race, Lee was creeping up and getting through, especially with the oil on turn 1. I did steady it down quite a bit, but yeah, no, I'm chuffed a bit with that.
I think you were one of the only cars that didn't go off on that oil at turn 1 though. It was a case of survival there, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I could see coming out the hairpin there that there was clouds of dust, so I thought there's people coming off here and dropping back. So yeah, I'd rather have had Lee pushing me around if it came to it.
A much more positive end to the day than it started then. What are your sort of realistic goals for the rest of the year?
Realistic goals, I really want to fight for the championship. I had a bit of bad luck last year, started with a bit this morning, but hopefully we're on up now.
Excellent, well best of luck for the next round.
Thank you very much.
A win in a second puts Lee Deegan at the top of the table. Danny Hobson is 12 points back, only 2 more ahead of Reason. Winfield and Camp are very close in as well. It's going to be a tight battle, but can anybody catch Lee Deegan? Over to Andy McEwen down in the pits to close out.
So Lee Deegan sets out his stall as the early season favourite with a win and a 2nd place from the 2 races here at Snetterton. But with 5 different drivers on the podium already, it looks set to be equally as competitive a season as we've grown used to. Let's hope for more of the same sort of action next time out.